So I started off as an architectural graduate at university. I studied for 5 years, and I started with the traditional technician role, but eventually realized pretty fast that like I actually liked BIM a lot more than I liked the pure architecture. So I really focused more on the BIM coordination role for a while, and then moved into BIM management quite early in my career, probably about 4 or 5 years in. And just since there, I've just had a passion for BIM ever since. I love like what the software can do for projects and workflows, and the efficiency and the systems that we can really develop to improve the quality of our projects. It's become really like my passion as a career, but also just as a hobby as well. Like I'm in through my YouTube channel, I do a lot of sort of hobbyism as well. So yeah, really enjoy it. And I guess myself, I live in Sydney in Australia, so I'm pretty much in the busiest city in Australia. So there's a lot of opportunities that we get here as well. But yeah, no, really enjoying it, and launched the business at the start of this year. So I've been enjoying working with more types of clients rather than just architects, and actually working face to face with clients in their BIM challenges too. So yeah, it's been really exciting, and really look forward to seeing where it all goes once everything picks up again with the economy. But actually doing okay at the moment too. Still a lot of clients coming through. So it's been good for consultants, I guess, because we're all digital. So
yeah, true. Yeah. What kind of initial inspirations that you have then when you studied architecture and then made the transition to the BIM technician? What made that decision?
It sort of happened naturally, I guess, in what I was exposed to, because I was really lucky to first work on a $2 billion hospital in Revit. And that was my first project out of university, and I hadn't had any work experience before then. So it was a pretty amazing exposure to what BIM can do on large scale projects. And it really taught me about best practices. And I think like I sat next to the BIM manager on that project, and there was 80 architects he was managing. So I got to really see like how much is involved in managing the BIM of a project. And I think I looked at that, and then I looked at all the people documenting, and I thought, I think I know which one's more exciting to me. And I've always loved video games and 3D space and 3D models. So I found that like there was very naturally a connection between what I was passionate about outside work and sort of what was in work as well. So I looked at things like Navisworks and those sort of 3D coordination environments and went, you know what, this is probably like the way that I want to work. And I did documentation too and all those things too. Like I still did like an architectural path for at least probably like 4 or 5 years with a bit of BIM thrown in. But yeah, I knew eventually that I sort of wanted to move more into that space. And I think that project really kick-started not only my interests, but also my opportunities in BIM as well. So yeah, it was a really interesting start. And I guess that when I was a kid, I used to like physics and mathematics and all these things, and I sort of put those together in my brain. And that's how I came to architecture. I put those together and said, where can you do all 3 or all 4 of those things together? And I played The Sims as a kid, so there's a lot of natural little stepping stones that led me towards the field. Yeah, it was quite natural.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting what you mentioned on the games as well. Like myself, I'm a bachelor degree on game production and design. So just developing video games. And then when I went to the construction and saw BIM, I was like, oh my God, this is like a video game, but we build it on real life. Holy fucking shit.
You can get paid. I mean, I think the first time I did a meeting where we were coordinating and I put on a little 3D avatar, like I was like, wow, I feel like I'm just playing Counter-Strike now or something like that. But it's cool. How do you find, it must be an interesting time for you to be in the industry, given that there's a lot of gaming products coming into our market, like Unreal Engine and Unity and all these things. It must be interesting to see those fields sort of come together at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think it's a bit of a maybe software struggle or something that we have like something like Unity, or well, Revit is already more to the AEC, but Unity. But then when you try to make the real world coordinate systems and everything, it gets really like buggy and bloggy, and it's really rough. So I think it's something that in the future will come much more closer together, because at least
I think we won't have a choice.
Yeah, because when it comes to the buildings and the infrastructure, it's always like to have more animations and more visualizations. And now when there comes AR and VR, I think those 2 pieces will go together really nicely. But we will see how fast.
It must be nice to see your initial studies sort of get more relevant in architecture as well. now that that environment's getting closer to what we do as well, with all these sort of gaming engines that we can now play with, in context of AEC. So yeah, interesting time to be in the
and
industry.
especially like scripting, something that usually in construction haven't been done. Usually it's just those dumb 3D models with some property informations. But when it comes to the scripting, then again it's back to my playing field that, hey, I know this. It's cool. I can do it. So I mean, I think those are tying up already, because there's I have seen a lot of companies that they are doing this kind of like building visualization or modeling services. Their whole business model focuses on just connecting the real world designs and then the Unity and 3D models and what you can do with them. And I think those two is integrating there in the future. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely, yeah, cool. Yeah, no, fun time to be in the industry. I sort of wish I'd started in game design myself, because I always really liked just gaming engines. I used to build a lot of 2D sort of 16-bit video games as a kid, and I somehow just sort of moved away from it. Like, I think I realized it was a really competitive industry, and it sort of scared me a bit. So I sort of ended up going to AEC instead.
Yeah, that's the same reason. Yeah, it's.
I had a few friends working at Blizzard, and they were like, "Wow, don't do it. It's so hard. Like, so competitive." But I don't think they're there anymore. So.
Yeah, it's quite brutal.